The writing strategy I share today is based on using sound as a platform for presenting a literary creation. Jenks 2010 said, "With the changing communication landscape, it is more important than ever that schools encourage students to produce texts that matter to them in different formats and for different audiences and purposes that allow them to draw on and extend from their range of semiotic resources." So, this is how podcast might work for your classroom. Number 1. Determine what will be your classroom recording studio. Make this an inviting and interesting space for sound creation. Bjorn and Wallencroft, 2007, promote the idea of the classroom as an environment for visual and audiovisual texts, describing environments of possibility as that tangible area of teachers' expertise which informs planning for activities that will both challenge and support multimodal composition and writing. Depending on your class, you may even design and build a studio in your classroom or a corner where students can go and practice in relative privacy. Place, Honeyford reminds us, is an important element of sparking new and creative inquiry. Number 2. Determine what will be your principal recording device. With permission, you may even be able to send out a call to colleagues or to parents for unused or old phones. Simple and free audio recording apps are easy to download. Number 3. Let the podcast begin. Set aside rich idea generation time. Idea generation that is constant and simultaneous with writing creation. Myhill's talk described that idea generation is not only before, but during the creation process as well. Ask your students for this podcast project to talk about what interests them, or do like a probing exercise where the students ask each other silly questions that allow them to draw very specific details of the things that fascinate them. In fact, some of these interviews in preparation may be recorded and may be even used as podcast content. Number 4, create limits for each podcast, asking the students to come up with a show that includes 3 podcasts or 3 episodes of 1 minute each. They should decide on 3 episodes and 3 subtopics of their choice, and even decide on a structure for each, because podcast styles and structures can vary depending on the choice and purpose of the creator. Number 5, select an RSS feed or podcast app, such as SoundCloud, where you can compile a class podcast that really is published online. This is much easier than it sounds. Number 6, finally, make time to celebrate as a class. For example, lights low and popcorn and a day of listening to each other's podcasts, where students could rotate in small groups and listen at stations. Finally, as in traditional writing, the process in podcasts can be rather non-linear and even non-cyclical. And so I continue to suggest encouraging the student writer to chart this process as part of the podcasting process and project.